Well, here we are again, everyone. Another night, another time to react hotly. I'm your host, Shaun. This is Hot Reacts Only. And if you know the game, normally I do movie-related stuff, movie-related tie-ins. But this being election week, all right? Presidential election 2020 coming down the pike today. It's today. It's happening today. The world will change. Will we plunge into civil war, race riots, class riots, communism versus capitalism? It's all on the line, folks. And what better way to celebrate this most momentous occasion than to check out Tim Pool's new song, Will of the People. So Tim Pool, if you don't know, he kind of started out as a on the ground kind of alternative journalist, independent dude. He has a background in some like news agencies. He said he worked for Disney. I think he worked for Vice or something like Vice. That's kind of more his MO. And I came to know him back when all those like the college stuff was going on, like the censorship, the protests, the rallies, kind of the free speech stuff, like right versus left, the beginnings of kind of what we see these days, like what happened this year, you know, with the 100 days in Portland. Well, maybe it's still going on. I don't even know. They don't report it. They don't talk about it. So who the fuck knows? But anyways, so that's how I came to know him. And he has kind of built a little mini empire for himself. And he was like, listen, the news game, the punditry game, not enough for me. Now I'm coming for you, music. Now I'm coming for you. That's right. He's a man of many talents, apparently. He's a skater, a news junkie, musician. This guy does a little bit of everything. So today we're going to check out that song, Will of the People. It dropped like out of nowhere just a few hours ago. I was like, holy shit. And I think I've heard this, maybe I might have actually heard this song before. I occasionally do tune into the Timcast IRL show occasionally at night. You know, he's a good news aggregate. You know, I don't necessarily always agree with him or think that he's I think he's a little bit in a bubble. I think he's a little bit out of touch sometimes, but you know, he kind of maintains that the milquetocentrist thing while also kind of skewing farther and farther right. And I think that is a natural progression for a person, to be honest with you. I think the idea that you kind of start accumulating things, you have a house, you have a business, you have a life, you have assets, suddenly you start thinking about, oh, I'd like to maintain those things. I'd like to keep those things. Not everything is owed to somebody else. And in the modern era, that is almost kind of the mantra of modern conservatism, of the modern right. And he's definitely skews that way now. You know, as he says, he's a Trump. He voted for Trump this year, so we'll see. But let's see what the song "Will of the People" will be like. Now, I have a prediction. I think this song is going to be a little bit down the road, down the middle. It's going to be very on brand Tim Pool. But yeah, apparently somebody made a music video for him. They recorded a song. He had, like I said, the Timcast IRL stuff. He used to like jam out, I guess, some weekends, like some Friday nights. For the last little bit, they would jam out, him and his co-host. And yeah, so let's check it out. Let's go. We're going to go for it. I have not seen this, as is tradition for Hot Reacts. I haven't seen it. So we're going to find out together. Me and you right now, just the two of us. What is Timmy doing? I put it on a beanie in solidarity for the Beanie, the king of the beanies. So let's roll. There it is right there. Will of the People. Oh, this is anthemic. You know, it's funny. It kind of reminds me of something like Fastball. Do you remember Fastball? Remember the song The Way? It kind of reminds me of that. For no real reason. voice of an angel, ladies and gentlemen. Very like a nice tenorish kind of voice, you know? It's got a nice timbre, little quake in there. You know, that adds emotion, that adds dimension. Okay? And it looks like we got somebody. I mean, Tim Pool's this big, you know, for years he's been talking about the Civil War, the incoming Civil War. And now we already have these kind of things, these Orwellian, fascistic overtones, somebody being led by some goons. Let's see. He called his soldiers down to take aim at the traitors, to gun those rebels down. This is pretty intense. I mean, that was a child. I believe that looked like a child. Maybe not. That looks like a man now. Okay. So maybe that wasn't a child. Cochino, cochino, kill the cochina. So we got some revolutionary types here. Their house is being raided. They've been found out. Now they face the consequences and held themselves above. This is the will of the people. This is very dark. I mean, you know, the song itself is kind of broad, right? But putting this kind of imagery to it is pretty incendiary, pretty provocative, you might say. So you have these kind of goons, the goon squad coming in, breaking down the door of these revolutionaries, and putting them in shackles. Let's see what happens. Now, not everybody's going to understand this reference, but this looks like the dude, his name is Vosh. He's a YouTuber, former Twitch affiliate, I think. He's a gross socialist, communist type guy. He calls himself a libertarian socialist, which I think is what he says when he wants to kind of like put a guard up. But actually, Tim on Timcast RL had him on the show a few days ago, and people were very upset. But yeah, he's a fucking goon. But this is funny. It's funny because this dude looks a lot like him. So if you were aware of the political punditry on the internet, the alternative network sphere of people that talk about politics and all that shit, it's funny to me. You could laugh too. Maybe it is him. Maybe this was all part of the deal, because he would have had to produce this way before they had their coming together, their meeting of the minds recently. Maybe. See, he doesn't want to be a bad guy. He doesn't want to do this. He knows. He's like, listen, if you guys would just give in to the new social order. I mean, come on. I wouldn't have to do this. And I could offer you mercy. I could offer you something. But I can't. Because this is about principle. This is about virtue. This is about the right thing to do. So I can't. Especially them being revolutionaries. He has to make an example of them. It goes even deeper. It even goes beyond just, you know, a normal person offering them some sort of passage through the night of their mistakes, the night of their minds. See, a little boy witnesses it all. This is about generational trauma. As is everything in life, right? As is everything. We see the things that happen around us to the people before us. And it molds us and we react to it. Tim gets it. Tim gets it. You don't get it. You don't get it. But Tim gets it. Oh shit, now he's like Antifa. So this little boy, this traumatized child, seeing the kind of authoritarian nature of this regime, has become a revolutionary. You know, this is Tim trying to meet in the middle here. This is, like I said, this is very on brand. Very on brand for Tim Pool, for the Beanie. Okay? Very on brand. Okay, because he's showing you the duality. How does a person become this? How does a boy become a terrorist? Well, this is how. Witnessing atrocity in your youth. Being brought up around injustice. So fill up those Molotov cocktails and let her rip. See, now he's saying the words. He's saying the words of his oppressor. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is deep. It's interesting, I would say, just considering the rhetoric of Tim Pool, that this is not more overtly something. Like, even this is like very milquetoast, right? Because he's making kind of a reference in the video, mind you. Now, I think there's a general broad theme. I think this is going to be about the cycles of like what happens to people, and then you end up becoming the thing that you hate, which is almost like projection on Tim's part. In my opinion, in my humble young dude bro opinion. But because like these guys are like, you know, Black Bloc Antifa, right? But they're not showing those colors. They're not repping that style. So even this is a little bit of a cop out. It's a little, you know, if you're going to do this, you're going to send this message, okay, about the dangers of getting control. Because I have a feeling, I can kind of sense where this is going. I got a feeling, everybody. I got a feeling that this kid, this revolutionary kid, is going to become the new oppressor. Because that's how it works. That's how the cycles of violence work, right? That's what happens in trauma. But I guess we'll find out. We'll find out together. Just me and you. This is video just for you, just for me. We're looking each other in the eyes right now. Yeah. Nice little bridge there, Tim. See, now he knows to bring it down. See, Tim, you know, maybe this is not my style of music, not my favorite thing in the world, but I will say this. It's very listenable to. He does not have a terrible voice for what he's doing. The arrangement is not awful, and the structure is fine. So objectively speaking, he's done it. He's on brand. He's created something completely down the middle. Jesus Christ. See, this kid's angry, right? Born of violence. It's like Reno Ishii from Kill Bill. That's what this reminds me of. The animated sequence from Kill Bill. This is basically the same thing. Speak your last words, let them be said. Oh my goodness. He just killed a man in cold blood. Like I said. Yeah, I guess that's pretty easy to call. I don't know if that's because of my awareness of Tim Pool, or because I'm just a smart dude. Maybe I'm just the smartest. You know, maybe I'm a cutie patootie, and I'm just the smartest fella ever. It's just pretty easy to call because, you know, Tim Pool is going to have this kind of broad perspective. And I'm not saying whether I agree with that or not. I do think in some ways, right, this is true. This is what we've talked about since I was a kid growing up, about like the almost, in a sense, artificial creation of terrorists through our actions in the Middle East, right? We radicalize people. This kid has been radicalized. And they see this as the only pathway forward. And if they can use that and it is successful to gain control, then what does that mean, right? Because if you are so righteous that you think that your point of view is the correct point of view, what wouldn't you do to preserve that? Right? What wouldn't you do? This is the kind of the scary thing about the way the world works today, and about how righteous and almost how religious some of the kind of cult of personality has become, and the way that just sociologically people are kind of starting to move towards, right? This completely, really reflexive, really intensely personal mode of thought. And now Tim's not getting into that because Tim's, he's giving a populist message here. It is kind of funny. He really, I'm sure it wasn't on purpose, but like there is something kind of funny about this coming out post-election night. Comes out the day before election day. And just kind of the idea, the notion of like celebrities involving themselves in the comings and goings of elections. This is basically Tim like doing that Lady Gaga video. It kind of. I don't think it's probably not intentional, or maybe it is. I don't know. He's a savvy business guy. It would not surprise me. I mean, the dude has built like a fucking empire. Apparently, he has like an underground skate park, like at his house. Fucking wild. So he's growing older. He's getting, see all these things, all these accomplishments, these things. Look, we're weaving through here. Politician, soldier, hero to the children. Oh, see now we've come to the part of the story where we're having this mirror effect, this reciprocal effect. Oh my God! See, he's over here. He's going to go. I guarantee you, there's somebody that disagrees with him. You old bearded Tim. See, he should have had this kid in a fucking beanie. That's what he should have done. Ah, you see, it was rebels in the beginning of the song, but now it's fascists. Now it's the fascists that they have to gun down. Because, see, this is, again, very on brand for Mr. Poole, is the notion that this is who the enemy is. They're these fascists, and you paint anybody that disagrees with you as a fascist. Now, I'm not completely unsympathetic to what he's trying to say, the message of what he's saying here, right? Because it's gotten ridiculous. It's gotten completely out of control about who is considered, a fascist or even has fascistic instincts. There is no, like, reasonable dialogue out there right now. And this is, an extreme version of it, obviously. This is a metaphor, allegory, whatever you want to call it. But it definitely does exist and persist in certain corners of the world. Especially, go on, like, Twitter. Twitter is like this weird microcosm, everybody's either a Nazi or a revolutionary. That's it. There is no in between. Don't trust the wolf? Is that what that said? Hold on, boys and girls, all four of you. Let's see that again. Don't trust the wolf. Oh, wait. Now let's see. See, I was just going to guess. Is there a child under the bed? Cycles of violence, everybody. Cycles of radicalization. See, it's weird because this is generally, I would say, is a concept that I agree with. I really sincerely do. It's only a matter of time before you're the bad guy. I think, it's a cliche to say, but it's from The Dark Knight. that you're like, you know, live long enough to see yourself become the villain kind of thing. Very deep stuff, Tim Pool. As the cycle turns again. See? It's interesting, though, that the words of the oppressor are kind of reappropriated to the victim at the end of the song. Because at the end of the song, he's speaking from the role as being the victim of the oppressor. In the beginning of the song, it was the oppressor being like, well, you know, maybe I should, but I can't, because if I do, it kind of shows weakness. And at the end, it's a prayer. It's a call out to maybe trying to find something better in the past and failing at it, right? Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. All right. So I misunderstood. Let's take that back. See, now this is the oppressor speaking. This is the modern oppressor speaking. Because he's about to get shot by the daughter. See? Oh, fucking cogs in a wheel, guy. Things are spinning. You pull one statue down, you build up another. You pull one statue down, you build up another. Put one statue down, you build up another. Oh, see, you hear that little lick? Dude, when they recorded that, let's go back. You hear this is a little lick. They're using the little funk pedal there. The little pedal there. When they recorded that, they thought that was the coolest fucking shit they had ever fucking heard. They're like, dude, that just... They probably talked about it for at least 10 minutes. They probably talked about it for a good 10 minutes. They're probably like, oh my God, that is the fucking... Dude, you add some texture here. Some layers. I can speak. I used to be in a band a long time ago. And those are the stupid things that you would say to each other. Especially when you were recording. All this guitar stuff, they loved it. Dude, they were like, it really just adds an element. It really just adds something to the end of it here. I mean, this is texture. You know, I'm joking. It is actually texture, but it's still funny. It's funny because I think back as a person that was in a band, and little inflections, little weird things, little things you could add, and it's always just like, oh, dude, that fucking makes a song. And then you talk to somebody else that was like, you know, liked your band. They would heard it, and they would find like this weird little idiosyncratic thing. Like, dude, that's what made the song. Think again. Now she's getting killed. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Song written and performed by Tim Pool. Musical arrangement and production by Nishra Alman. Directed by Henrik Svelling. Illustration by Johannes Othen. You know, I'm curious who is the animator here. 3D art. I mean, because this was, you know, I can talk shit all day long. I can talk shit all day long about that. That is a very well produced music video, and I think it shows you in a weird way like where Tim Pool is at in terms of like his ability and his reach and his access to things. Like that's a very, very impressive. Like nobody else on YouTube has done something at that level. And that's interesting, right? Because I'm a big Queens of the Stone Age fan, okay? And when they had the album Like Clockwork came out in like 2012, a big part of their ad campaign were like these animated videos and like a lot of animated music video stuff. Looked kind of like that. I listen, I prefer the Queens of the Stone Age stuff. Obviously, a lot more access to animators and money and studios and whatnot. But that was not bad on that level, right? It is the Milk Toast Centrist Song of the Year. It's going to win all the Milk Toast Centrist awards this year in 2020, for sure. It's an obvious message. It's a message that people have been talking about since 2004. If you're my age, I'm 34 this year. Just recently, a few weeks ago, I turned 34. Happy birthday to me. But anyways, yeah, so I don't know. You know, it's not a song that you can really goof on in some ways because it's, you know, it is what it is. It's so obvious. It's so overt. And I think that music video is very on the nose. However well made it is. It's very on the nose. Although I will have to say though, really kind of wish he kind of went for it with the parallels between the revolutionaries. Just be more specific. Okay, I've been drinking. But I'll take it back a little bit. If you want this to live beyond the immediate, the now, if he wants people to see this music video in 5 years and still understand it in the same way that I could have understood it 16 years ago, I suppose you do kind of want a little bit of generic attitude to it. I did think it was funny, the Vosh face. Let me see if I can find it. And then we'll go to that freeze frame. Because that did kind of make me laugh. Okay, so let's go back. So this right here, this looks like the cartoon version of Vosh, which was interesting to me. That's funny to me. It's funny to me just because of how history ended up working out. That's what makes it funny. You can think of whatever you want to think, but that's a little silly. But anyways, yeah, so that was exciting. Election day hot reaction. Oh my goodness. Didn't think, I was very on the fence about whether or not I'd even bother doing it. Because I was like, It's because I knew it was a song I was not going to be able to have like a silly deep read. A lot of times I go into the movie ones and I'm like, okay, well, I want to give like I want to give an out there reading of the song. I want to look into the most absurd version of it that I possibly can. With something like this, I kind of knew I wasn't going to be able to. And like I had said at the beginning, I had heard him perform this acoustically on the Timcast IRL show. Yeah, it's weird. Tim Pool's an interesting guy, I don't know how I feel about him these days, and I think it's just a normal thing, though. Like, the escalation of popularity and whatnot, like, you become something. At some point, you become very much so a category, and it's very hard to get around that, You have to have self-awareness. Tim Pool is a little bit in, like, a bubble. A little bit, This is a guy that basically out in the open is just like, yeah, I don't leave my house. You're a news junkie. His entire world is viewed through virtual means. That's not healthy as a prognosticator, as somebody that's out there as a pundit giving information. And the farther he's gone into that, the more he's become kind of out of touch and less relatable. Especially to somebody like me. I joke around. I say, I'm a milk toast centrist. I got libertarian leanings. And that's true. But the older you get and the more you have, you start leaning a little bit right. And then you see the things that go on in the world and it freaks you out. You try to be a little bit more kind of reasonable or moderate with your feelings about it because you're just like, well, it's not happening everywhere. It's happening in very specific places where there are very specific failures and very specific people responsible. And I just happen to live in a place where I'm not really worried about that. But that doesn't mean it can't happen. As a society progresses as affluence takes place, as success takes place, as in a general broad sense, as the pain of reality kind of flattens out a little bit, right? You will always skew kind of left. You'll probably skew left, just as a culture. And sometimes that's not probably the best thing, because I think when you don't actually have real problems, you will lose yourself to semantics, to minutia, and then you really start to hate each other over things that don't actually matter. And that's probably not healthy. Honestly, in the long run, it's probably not a healthy way to be. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Milk Toast Centrist, cool guy Shaun. Cool guy Shaun out there. If you watch this today, if you watch this on, what is it, November 3rd, this is today, come back to this channel, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be goofing and gaffing and laughing. We're going to be checking out the election. Going to be a lot of call-ins. Going to be a lot of fun stuff. If you're watching it after the fact, go find that stream. Go find it. You'll probably have a good time. I can't say for sure, but you probably will. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to know more about Zoobox, bunch of links in the description for Facebook, for Instagram, for my Twitter, for my brother Dan's Twitter. Also, if you would like to make a recommendation for one of these hot react videos, or a topic to talk about on Zoobox Prime, or a movie for me to review on Zoobox Goes to the Movies, or a random daily video, you go ahead and throw it in the comments. It will be seriously considered and put on the list. All right, everybody, you have the best one ever. And don't vote. It's the most American thing you can do.